Business for part 2 of the Council. Your Majesty, to make your declaration.
My lords, ladies and gentlemen, it is my most sorrowful duty to announce to you the death of my beloved mother, the Queen. I know how deeply you, the entire nation, and I think I may say the whole world, sympathize with me in the irreparable loss we've all suffered. It is the greatest consolation to me to know of the sympathy expressed by so many to my sister and brothers, and that such overwhelming affection and support should be extended to our whole family in our loss. To all of us as a family, as to this kingdom and the wider family of nations of which it is a part, my mother gave an example of lifelong love and of selfless service. My mother's reign was unequaled in its duration, its dedication, and its devotion. Even as we grieve, we give thanks for this most faithful life. I am deeply aware of this great inheritance and of the duties and heavy responsibilities of sovereignty, which have now passed to me. In taking up these responsibilities, I shall strive to follow the inspiring example I have been set in upholding constitutional government and to seek the peace, harmony, and prosperity of the peoples of these islands and of the Commonwealth realms and territories throughout the world. In this purpose, I know that I shall be upheld by the affection and loyalty of the peoples whose sovereign I have been called upon to be, and that in the discharge of these duties, I will be guided by the counsel of their elected parliaments. In all this, I am profoundly encouraged by the constant support of my beloved wife. I take this opportunity to confirm my willingness and intention to continue the tradition of surrendering the hereditary revenues, including the Crown Estate, to my government for the benefit of all, in return for the sovereign grant, which supports my official duties as head of state and head of nation. And in carrying out the heavy task that has been laid upon me, and to which I now dedicate what remains to me of my life, I pray for the guidance and help of Almighty God.
I have with humble duty to crave your Majesty's permission for the publication of your gracious speech.
Approved.
Concerning the security of the Church of Scotland.
I understand that the law requires that I should, at my accession to the Crown, take and subscribe the oath relating to the security of the Church of Scotland. I am ready to do so at this first opportunity. I, Charles III, by the grace of God of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland, and of my other realms and territories, King, Defender of the Faith, do faithfully promise and swear that I shall inviolably maintain and preserve the settlement of the true Protestant religion as established by the laws made in Scotland in prosecution of the claim of right, and particularly by an act intituled An Act for Securing the Protestant Religion and Presbyterian Church Government, and by the acts passed in the Parliament of both kingdoms for union of the two kingdoms together with the government, worship, discipline, rights and privileges of the Church of Scotland. So help me God.
I now invite Your Majesty to subscribe both copies of the instrument, confirming the oath has been taken. I now invite the witnesses to His Majesty's oath to sign both copies of the instrument.
Watching this amazingly detailed, the ritual and the history of what we're watching is quite extraordinary. We might bring Hugh Whitfield back in, who's standing by outside Balmoral, but watching this live as well. The Scottish leader there just signing it at the moment. Hugh, you might want to add some value to what we're watching here. It's quite amazing.
Yeah, Michael, and you can hear the bands outside St James's Palace there as well. As we've been talking about all evening, this is a remarkable insight into the way that a new king is proclaimed. This is a process that will have been largely unchanged in terms of the process for a while, but we've heard new things added, I think, over the last century, particularly the mention of the head of the Commonwealth, and Charles also mentioning his titles of regarding the realms and the Commonwealth. And of course, Australia is a realm nation. Charles is now King of Australia. The oath regarding the Church of Scotland, I think it was pretty self-explanatory, but it goes back to the union of the two crowns in 1603, the English line ran out, they had to turn to King James in Scotland to become King of Scotland and England. And then in 1707, the Acts of Union, where the two parliaments were combined, Scotland lost its parliament, and the MPs now sit at Westminster in London. So there is a lot of history here. Scotland maintains its part as a nation.
Draft of an order in council for recording the oath relating to the security of the Church of Scotland, to be transmitted to the Court of Session, to be recorded in the books of Sediment, and afterwards lodged in the State Papers of Scotland and in the Council Register.
Approved.
Draft order in council determining the form of proclamation for proclaiming your majesty in the realms and in the British overseas territories.
Approved.
Draft of an order in council authorising the Lord Chancellor to make use of the Great Seal for sealing all things whatsoever that pass the Great Seal until another Great Seal be prepared and authorised.
Approved.
Draft of an order in council authorising the Lord Privy Seal, if need be, to make use of the existing Privy Seal until another Privy Seal is prepared and authorised.
Approved.
Drafts of 3 orders in council authorising your Majesty's principal Secretaries of State, the Lord Chancellor of the Exchequer and the Chancellor of the Duchy of Lancaster, to use the existing seals until other seals be prepared and authorised.
Approved.
Draft of an order in council authorising your Majesty's Secretary of State for Northern Ireland to make use of the existing Great Seal of Northern Ireland until another seal be prepared and authorised.
Approved.
Draft of an order in council authorising your Majesty's First Minister of Scotland to make use of the Great Seal of Scotland until another Great Seal of Scotland be prepared and authorised.
Approved.
Draft of an order in council authorising your Majesty's First Minister of Wales to make use of the existing Welsh seal until another Welsh seal be prepared and authorised.
Approved.
Draft of an order in council authorising the public seals authorising the respective public seals lately in use elsewhere than in the United Kingdom to be made use of until new seals be prepared and their use duly authorised.
Approved.
Draft of an order in council confirming your Majesty's wishes in relation to the Sovereign Grant Act 2011 to continue the tradition of surrendering the hereditary revenues, including the Crown Estate, to your government for the benefit of all, in return for the sovereign grant, which supports your official duties as head of state and head of nation.
Approved.
Drafts of 2 proclamations. 1, appointing the day of Her late Majesty's state funeral as a bank holiday in England, Wales and Northern Ireland. 2, appointing the day of Her late Majesty's state funeral as a bank holiday in Scotland. And of 2 orders in council directing the Lord Chancellor to affix the Great Seal to the proclamations.
Approved.
I now invite your Majesty to sign both proclamations. And that, Your Majesty, concludes today's business for the Council.
Extraordinary.
Yeah, the ending of that official business there. And there's a couple of points I think we'd like to bring back Hugh Whitfield in, who's been watching it as well, and
May I now
perhaps
invite the deputation
discuss.
party
There's some
and the
formalities to
witnesses to the oath
follow on
to
here.
exit via
They're going to exit that room eventually, all of the Privy Council, and some of the business behind the scenes will get underway. There will be some celebration, some fanfare, which will happen shortly. But Hugh, a couple of points probably worth talking there. I don't know what stood out to you, but in his initial speech, there was a formality, but it means a lot in the United Kingdom, this surrendering of hereditary revenue in exchange for grants. Now, this, you can explain, was struck some time ago to give up the revenue of all of the lands and properties that are owned by this wealthy family in exchange for grants from the government. But perhaps expand on that.
Proclamation, which is laid out in the lower corridor.
Yeah, Michael,
Thank
look,
you all
this
for
is something that
attending
will be different to when the Queen swore a similar oath 70 years ago, because during the course of the Queen's reign there was controversy about the fact that the royal family didn't pay tax. The Crown Estate is probably one of the largest landowners in the UK. They own all sorts of retail property in London as well. It generates revenue. That revenue is surrendered to the government, and in return for that they receive the sovereign grant, which is a fixed amount each year. It grows with inflation obviously, but it's a fixed amount that allows the monarch, the King in this case, and members of his family to carry out their work. It funds the royal family in the business of monarchy. Prior to that, the King, stretching back to ancient times, collected revenue from his estates, didn't pay tax, and lived an extraordinary life of largesse. That doesn't happen now. In modern times, there are different expectations on the royal family. So I don't think when the Queen was proclaimed Queen back in 1952, I don't think she would have made a similar statement as that. I think that's a new inclusion for the 21st century.